Living with herpes. What do I do if I find out I have herpes? It's normal to have lots of different feelings after you find out that you have herpes. You might feel mad, embarrassed, ashamed, or upset at first. But you'll probably feel a lot better as time goes by, and you see that having herpes doesn't have to be a big deal. People with herpes have relationships and live totally normal lives. There are treatments for herpes, and there's a lot you can do to make sure you don't give herpes to anyone you have sex with. Millions and millions of people have herpes. You're definitely not alone. Most people get at least one STD in their lifetime, and having herpes or another STD is nothing to feel ashamed of or embarrassed about. It doesn't mean you're dirty or a bad person. It means you're a normal human who got a really common infection. The reality is that herpes can happen to anybody who has ever been kissed on the lips or had sex. That's a lot of people. Herpes isn't deadly and it usually doesn't cause any serious health problems. While herpes outbreaks can be annoying and painful, the first flare-up is usually the worst. For many people, outbreaks happen less over time and may eventually stop completely. Even though the virus hangs around in your body for life, it doesn't mean you'll be getting sores all the time. The best thing to do when you find out you have herpes is follow your doctor's directions for treating it. If you're having a hard time dealing with the news, talking with a close friend or a support group for people living with herpes may make you feel better. And tell anyone you have sex with that you have herpes. It's not the easiest conversation, but it's an important one. Here are some tips. How do I talk with people about having herpes? It might feel scary to admit you have herpes, but talking about things can really ease your mind. You could lean on a close, non-judgmental friend that you trust to keep the conversation private. Parents, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, and other family members can also be a source of comfort. Remember, herpes is really common, so it's possible the person you're talking to has herpes, too. There are a lot of online support groups for people who have herpes, and the American Sexual Health Association has a list of support groups that meet in person. What do I need to know about dating with herpes? Some people feel like their love lives are over when they find out they have herpes, but it's just not true. People with herpes have romantic and sexual relationships with each other, or with partners who don't have herpes. Talking about STDs isn't the most fun conversation you'll ever have. But it's super important to always tell partners if you have herpes, so you can help prevent it from spreading. There's no one way to talk about having an STD, but here are some tips that may help. Keep calm and carry on. Millions of people have herpes, and plenty of them are in relationships. For most couples, herpes isn't a huge deal. Try to go into the conversation with a calm, positive attitude. Having herpes is simply a health issue. It doesn't say anything about you as a person. Make it a two-way conversation. Remember that STDs are super common, so who knows? Your partner might have herpes too. So start by asking if they've ever been tested or had an STD before. Know your facts. There's a lot of misinformation about herpes out there, so read up on the facts and be prepared to set the record straight. Let your partner know there are ways to treat herpes and avoid passing it on during sex. Think about timing. Pick a time when you won't be distracted or interrupted, and a place that's private and relaxed. If you're nervous, you can talk it through with a friend first, or practice by talking to yourself. It sounds silly, but saying the words out loud can help you know what you want to say and feel more confident when you talk to your partner. Living with herpes. Living with herpes TED Talk. Living with herpes type 2. Living with herpes as a woman. Living with herpes male. Living with herpes 1. Living with herpes type 1. Living with herpes as a man. Living with herpes simplex 1. Living with herpes story. Thank you for watching. And please subscribe to my channel for my upcoming herpes treatment videos.